Lingam. Lingam is a Buddhistisch, Hinduistisch
lingam is a Buddhist Hindu fertility symbol. It's a phallus.
Het is een phallus.
It's a symbol of male fertility. Lingams are about energy, emanating energy and power. I always focus on this in my work as an artist, male and female elements, and how these two are intertwined, how they're balanced.
Wij zijn heel erg blij dat we de tentoonstelling Lingams in Museum Catharijne.
We're very happy to be able to host the exhibit on lingams. It's a beautiful exhibit that fits within the tradition of the museum, and it gives us the opportunity to compare certain elements within the Christian tradition to other religions, and to show that we take a unique approach to subjects that could be seen as challenging.
Toch wel op een bijzondere manier met zaken omgaan. De lingam.
In a lingam, the phallus represents creation of life, and the yoni represents the implosion of that same creation, the return of that creation to primeval matter.
Tot oermaterie, tot oerenergie.
Goed. Op een gegeven moment kwam ik in mijn eigen werk met lingams in aanraking.
At a certain point in my work in Southeast Asia, I encountered lingams. I saw lingams at a market. I bought a few. They weren't the ones behind me, the big ones. I didn't see those till much later. So they were smaller. I bought them and suddenly thought, what are they for? I asked the guy who was selling them, and he opened his pants and showed me 20 of them in a row and said, "Fertility, sir." And I thought, Jesus, this is fabulous. Me, a jewelry maker, and suddenly you see all these talisman-like things that all have to do with fertility. Wonderful.
Geweldig.
Het Hindoeïsme gaat uit van een godsbeeld, een godsconcept.
The Hindu concept of God consists of three manifestations. One God manifests himself in three forms: Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Shiva makes sure that when life ends, when something dies off, that life is recreated. He regenerates life, continuity. There is an explosion of energy. This is how creation begins. And creation ends with a sort of implosion.
The River of the Thousand Lingams is a plek in...
The River of a Thousand Lingams is a place in Cambodia where thousands of lingams have been carved out in a riverbed. And the beautiful thing about it is that water trickling over the riverbed gives you a beautiful poetic feeling of life perishing and life giving.
Het leven, ja, vergaat en het geeft.
The lingam is a metaphor, is a symbol.
The lingam is a metaphor, a symbol of Shiva, but aimed at the two aspects of Shiva, the loss of life and the recreation of life.
En er liggen voor mij transcendente.
And for me there are deeper transcendental layers within the lingam.
Ik vind het belangrijk dat de cirkel rond wordt.
It's important for me that the circle is completed, that you bring a lingam from Asia to the West, and that it doesn't end up in a fine arts exhibition, but in a religious setting.
De kunstenaars die hier hun lingams hebben gepresenteerd, die komen
The artists who present their lingams here come from a Western tradition. They've been inspired by the Hindu tradition, they've confronted themselves with it, and have tried to find a link between it and our Western culture. I think that's the strength of this exhibit.
Ik ben een christen. En ik
I am a Christian,
tot boeddhisme.
and I'm in dialogue with Buddhism and Hinduism.
Ik leef in een christelijke cultuur.
I live in a Christian culture, and I'll never become a Buddhist. I'll never become a Hindu. But it's very interesting that I can learn from those things. Christianity is a head thing. It's a religion about the head. And Buddhism and Hinduism are much more physical. The religions themselves are much more physical. And you're allowed to be involved to experience how your body functions.
Binnen het Hindoeïsme is seksualiteit niet gescheiden.
Within Hinduism, sexuality is not separated from this whole concept of spirituality and religious consciousness. It's part of it. But something that's less known in the West is that the same Shiva of the regenerating aspect of God is represented as half man, half woman. This symbolizes that the man-woman duality in creation forms a unity, and that there are two types of energy needed to form life. Shiva says, I unite both in myself.
Als kunstenaar ben ik met alchemie bezig.
As an artist, I deal with alchemy. And one of the most important things that you examine is the male and the female, that which finds itself in the right side and the left side of my brain. The male part is the creative part, and the female part executes and sustains that creative notion. So there's a sustaining and a creative energy.
Dat gaat over het evenwicht en de harmonie.
It's about balance and harmony. A hermaphrodite is actually in balance. That's harmony.
Dat is harmonie.
And then you're actually a complete human being.
Compleet mens.
Ik denk dit past in dit museum, want het gaat
I think
over
it
iets
fits
wat
in this
heel duidelijk
museum
bij religie ook
because it's very
aanwezig is.
clearly something that's present in religion. It's about tradition, about life, about reproduction. Christianity is very much about reproduction. But if you show that that's also a beautiful thing, literally as well as figuratively, you get a lot of criticism. Christianity is a very serious religion with a lot of emphasis on perfection and pursuit of the divine. This exhibition shows that Christianity has another face, a face we tend to hide, the sensual. And we're trying to bring those two aspects together, the serious side of Christianity and the sensuality in us, which is something Christianity has trouble with.
Problemen mee heeft.
Seksualiteit en alles wat eromheen hoort.
In Hinduism,
wordt binnen de
sexuality and
gezien
everything
als een
related to
vaardigheid,
it
als
is
een-
seen as a
als
skill,
een vak,
a craft,
om die
to improve your
seksualiteit
sexuality.
te verbeteren, waardoor je een betere minnaar wordt.
This makes you a better lover.
Ja,
It makes you better sexually.
seksueel gewoon beter bent. Maar dat is
But that's not
niet
something
wat los
that is seen as
van
separate from religious
religieuze
expression.
vormen. Het is verbonden
It's
met
linked to religion.
seksualiteit.
Sexuality is
Hoort
part of
bij het
it,
deel van het
a
leven.
part of life.
Ook in het religieuze.
This includes religious life.
Die 122 lingams. Ze komen binnen. Ik maak het eerste pakje open.
The 122 lingams, they arrive. I open the first package and I think to myself, oh no, this is not what I want. This is not at all what I want. It was all so vulgar, too vulgar for words, and was about something that I simply could not relate to.
Maar dat was een geweldige leerproces.
But it turned out to be a wonderful learning experience for me. I had to let go. I had to allow myself to start thinking in Hindu and Buddhist terms. Because I might have very lofty ideas about lingams. Doesn't mean someone else has to.
Maar dat heeft een ander. Naarmate het verder ging...
As the process continued, the layers became deeper. The perceptions became more interesting. The men and the women became more interesting. The heterosexual, the homosexual. The spectrum was really lovely. And that's why it's wonderful to have 122.